Hello, Cass. Nice to
Hi.
see you.
Nice to see you too. How you doing?
I'm really well, and you're kind of well, I hear.
Doing better. Have
Okay,
been
good.
worse. Had a rough couple of days, but we're back. We're back to being alive and well.
Excellent. Well, so last week you read my ebook, Bump Boss 101,
Yes.
and so that's what I want to talk about. What you thought, like first, like what stood out to you as something like that stood out as surprising. If I can ask you that first.
So like surprising. So much of it, I guess. It's just the way things were broken down. I forget what the actual name of like the little lists were. Actionable steps or
Actionable items that
okay,
I have,
items,
yeah.
yeah. That because I was like, we've talked before this too, where it's like, and you're like, okay, so what's the plan? It doesn't work. What's the plan? Here, how long do you intend? Like, instead of just saying, oh, do you want to breastfeed? It gave me like five additional follow up questions that I probably should be thinking about. Like, what if your baby has a tongue tie? Are you cool with going and seeking outside help? Are you, if it doesn't work out, are you okay with formula feeding? What's your backup plan? What's your, where do you want your mindset to be? Just like questions that no one asks you further than that. Your midwives, your care team is like, do you want to breastfeed? Yep. Okay. So like,
Yeah,
it's a
and
little bit more in depth where I was like, oh no, I didn't think like, what if, like maybe I should
what
think
if?
further,
There's so many what ifs, yeah. And not only what
framing
if things
things.
go wrong, but what if things go right? What if you love it? What if you want to do it longer than you ever imagined? And how are you going to work that into your life?
Oh,
So it
that
just goes further into
specifically,
it.
the how do you want to breastfeed? That is a question that, like, I mean, clearly I've thought of it, and like in my head, I always was like 6 months at least to a year, and then I was like, what if I'm really good at it? Like, what if me and my baby just are real natural at it? If I want to do it more than a year, how do I make that work realistically with my work schedule, with my husband's work schedule, with going out and about? And then one thing I thought about while reading it is I was like, how comfortable, because we've talked about how my son is coming, right around holiday time. How comfortable am I with breastfeeding in those public or event situations? Because I'm about to have a lot of
Mhm.
them coming up. And like, am I
Mhm.
mentally okay with that? Like taking 25, 30, 40 minutes out of Christmas dinner to go into a private room to feed my son, or if I feel comfortable enough to sit on the couch with a cover, like, you know what I mean? Like, it gave me a lot to
Yeah,
think about in terms of like, so how am I going to take this journey, whether it works out or doesn't work out? Like, what questions that I just really didn't think about until I read it.
good. And it's a short book, right? But that one whole section is on breastfeeding, the whole breastfeeding question, right?
Oh yeah, and I think it's a good length because, like, I'll be real, my attention span. I mean, like, don't get me wrong, I read, but like, especially when you get into like something like this where it is constant questions, constant asking yourself, how do I feel about this? And learning and like taking in information about how your life is about to change. You don't want that to be too long or too daunting.
Mm-hmm.
Because if it is, I'd get
Mm-hmm.
halfway through it and be like, oh my God. Oh my, I have
I
to take a
can't do
break.
this.
Like, I gotta journal.
I
Like, I gotta write
can't
some
do
stuff down. I gotta be taking notes. But the fact that it's condensed to where I'm thinking about things, and then again, those actionable items, I can look back on just those pages and be like, did I fully flesh out my thought on this? Did I fully
it.
answer my
Yes,
own question
that's
on do I feel
great
comfortable
to
doing
hear.
this?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to do. So I have like one or two pages of text, and then within that section, one or two pages of actionable items. So yeah,
Yeah.
you can just read it and then hop to the the points, the like 5 or 10 points. You can just go back to and you'll have that. Yeah, did I do this? Did I think about this? So
I'm telling you,
that's
for
how I
people who
wanted to
get
set
this
it up.
book, I think you gotta like buy a one subject notebook with it. And like as you actionable items, like write down like did I think this? Like what are your thoughts? Take notes throughout the process because then you can reference it later, and it's just really nice. Because I like that. Like we've spoke before, I love being told what to think about, but not how to think. I need guidance
Exactly.
on what questions I need to be asking myself because I'm not thinking of them.
Yes, that is the idea that I try to get across is here's the information about this topic that I want you to have so that you're prepared to make those decisions. And the decisions are yours, but here's what you need to know in order to make the decisions and make good ones for yourself.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
100 agree.
So let's talk about the section in the book on the cabinet of experts. It's
Yes.
kind of my favorite, I have to say. I put it in the middle because I want to make sure you get to it. My big thing is like that's what I give to all my new moms. Like, you need your cabinet of experts, and I call it a cabinet because like the president of the United States does not know everything about everything. There is a cabinet of experts that they consult with about foreign policy and economy and all the things. So we as new moms need our own cabinet of experts. So tell me what you thought about that chapter.
That was actually a really surprising little chapter for me because, like, don't get me wrong. I knew lactation consultants existed, and I know sleep consultants exist, and all these people who are advised in, like, these sections of, baby health and care. But it's like I always thought, like, you don't go to a lactation specialist unless you need, like, the help. And, like, I didn't, I don't know. It was like a weird framing for me. Kind of like how people are talking about therapy nowadays, where it's like, you don't necessarily need to be in crisis to go to therapy. Like, it's just nice to have an established mental health professional. That's how this felt. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, just like have a lactation consultant to help me. Like, even if things are going okay, it's nice to have someone in my corner already established. So when and if issues come up, it's not a scramble, a mad dash to find someone to help you. It's okay. I have to call my lactation consultant. So that was like a really great chapter in terms of, like, for me, mindset shifting, because I was like, oh, I do need more than my child's pediatrician. I have to see them regularly or anything, but like even if things are going well, I need to establish with, like, okay, if we run into sleep issues, who am I going to for sleep consulting? And oh, if it has alignment issues, let's think about a infant chiropractor now, rather than, oh my god, my baby is crying, it's 2 in the morning.
Yeah.
So okay, great. Like, this is one of those things where it's, you need to prepare ahead of time and really think about these things and research like experts in your area, and just taking advantage of those, because I'll be real, I was one of those people that kind of thought your pediatrician is your end all be all. Like, oh, they're just
Yeah.
gonna know. Like, they'll just tell me what to do and tell me when and how everything should be going. But realistically, they're like my primary doctor. They come in. Do I have a fever? Am I do I weigh
Yes.
enough? Do I weigh too much? Oh, you
Right.
seem pretty healthy.
That's the point. That's the point I wanted to start out with, was recognize that the limits of a generalist. So you have a primary care doctor, right? You're not going to your primary care doctor for your pregnancy
No.
because you're going to a pregnancy specialist, right? Exactly. So in turn, your pediatrician is a generalist basically for your baby. What I want you to know is pediatricians are great for their scope of work. They focus on growth and weight gain, milestones, overall health. Your baby's healthy. But there's so much more to it. There's so many more specialists out there that you want to be aware of. First of all, be aware of pediatric gastroenterologists. Who knew that was a thing, right?
Not
But
me.
they specialize pediatric gastroenterology. So if your baby's having issues like maybe blood in their stool, or just really bad reflux where you think they might have an allergy, food allergy, milk protein allergy. Um, Infant chiropractors, that's a huge thing. these babies, like some people are really scared of the infant chiropractor, but I just want to say an infant chiropractor is a specialist and they're not cracking your baby's bones like they do to adults. Okay. It does not look like that. It's super gentle. They have extra special certified training in infants. But I just want to say, recommend it a lot because when you give birth, whether it's vaginally or a C-section, that baby's been crunched in there. They're okay. They're in that sac of fluid, but like for example, in your case, you have a little bit lower amniotic fluid. So they're kind of crunched in there, that little guy, And so after
Yeah.
birth, it's definitely possible that they need just a little alignment of their spine, just like we all do. That aligned spine really contributes to their well-being, and
Oh yeah.
that's their sleep, their feeding, their digestive system, everything going through. It has to come from. They have to have an aligned spine. So I really encourage people to look into it, find someone in your area that get reviews, make sure you're comfortable with them before you meet your baby, because you don't want to be scrambling, like you mentioned. You don't want to be scrambling if all of a sudden you need that. That is a great idea that you did. You picked up the idea from the book and then you went and looked at videos of like, what does this really look like? Because yeah, don't be scared away by it. It really, it can be such a life changer for that baby, for their whole disposition to have an alignment.
Yeah, I can.
But you want specialists for the baby, but also for yourself. So things like a pelvic floor specialist. A lot of people do not know what that is, but it's extremely. I wish it was even a thing 30 years ago, but it wasn't. So it's a physical therapist who specializes in pelvic floor therapy.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
they
Oh,
just deal with those core muscles and the pelvic floor that holds everything in. So
yes.
find one of those for yourself.
I actually.
If you are seeing a pelvic floor therapist before you give birth, they can actually help you learn how to push properly.
Oh,
They
I'm
can
gonna have to
do
call them now.
they can do a
I've been waiting.
sonogram on your muscles, on your pushing muscles, and have you kind of push and contract while they watch on the sonogram and tell you if you're pushing right.
Oh,
Now,
I'll wait until after
no,
and
no,
then
no.
call. No, I'll call now
Go
because I
now.
love that. Because as a first-time mom, I will tell you that is one.
And there are wrong ways to push. There really are. And
I'm sure there is.
you want to have that, you want to have that in your pocket. Like, I know what to do.
I know for a
There's a lot of directions it can go, but you're going to be prepared. You're going to go in there with a lot of knowledge and your birth plan and your postpartum plan.
yes.
So you're going to be covered. So let's talk about the section on the book about baby gear. Now, I know you've had a shower already.
Yes.
And you're having another shower tomorrow. And you probably got lots of good stuff.
Oh yeah.
But what I like to make sure is that we, have this, know what all of these things are, know what their purpose is. Sometimes things, you think that they're helping, but they really actually they can actually derail the baby's development if you're using them not in the right way or if you're using them too much. So I have a whole boot camp. I go through a whole workshop on some of the baby gear, like my top things that you do not need or that you should not use. And so there's a lot there, but I mean it's just important, like, to recognize the marketing aspect of a lot of this gear, and it's just marketing. Like,
I
you
will tell
don't
you as
need.
some.
Yeah, you're gonna love this workshop I have on baby gear. You're gonna love it. I'm gonna make sure you get it like today. You can go through it. And it's okay if you get stuff for your shower and get diapers. But just there's a few things that are they're just dangerous and they're
Yeah.
still on the market. So I cover those in the boot camp. But other things that are like kind of iffy, like in my opinion, like for example the bouncy chair. It's like a reclining bouncy chair.
Yeah.
So it's very popular. Like plop the baby in there, and they're
I
kind of
actually
up
have one right behind me.
what's going on. And so it seems like a nice thing because I've had moms saying like, well, I can't leave them on their back all day long and on their back or on their tummy time. Like, they need to be up or whatever. And but if you think about it, if you're holding your baby while you're feeding them, and you're holding your baby in your baby carrier, which I recommend, they're getting the upright time, you know.
Yeah.
And the bouncy chair is it constricts their movement. I mean, their legs are in the little thing, right?
Yeah.
And there's a little bit of cushion around them. Not so much cushion, but they're leaned back in that sort of sack, so they can't like move their arms out. They can't splay their hips out. They're contained in this. It's okay if it's for 5 or 10 minutes, but let's be honest. If you're putting your baby in there, it's because you need to go and do something, right?
Yeah,
It's
I would
not,
say that.
I mean, this is where they're at, like we think of ourselves, well, I wouldn't want to be lying down flat for, 12 hours a day, but we're adults, we have the bone structure and
We
the
have neck
strength.
control.
Yeah. So the babies, this is how they develop that muscle control so that they can develop to the point where they can sit up by themselves, is by lying them flat and in a perfectly safe area, like you said, on a blanket on the floor, or maybe playpen, what are we calling them now?
I'm
Play
very
yard.
confused.
So I mean, they're super safe in there, right? And no toys, no blankets, nothing in there, just that, and it fits in your living room or whatever, because they have the range of motion, and that's what they need. They need a lot of time of range of motion, so where they're able to turn their head, move their arms around freely, and especially open their hips like little froggy legs. They can't do that in those bouncy chairs, and that's something that they need because they're constantly growing. Those hips are constantly growing, and if they're contained, they're not growing in the natural way.
Yeah.
So that's just one example of one product that I just don't like. Like, just don't get it. You don't need it. No, the thing with this Snuggle Me, and that's the brand name, but there's other types. The Nest, there's other types, but it's basically, yeah, it's like a cushion with a whole cushion around the edge, and it
Yeah.
looks like a little cloud, and it's beautiful and adorable, and it makes for wonderful pictures. But they can get their head stuck up against that cushion. It's just like a crib bumper, right? Crib bumpers, we all know now that they're not safe because they can get their face smushed up against them and they can't move. This is worse than a crib bumper. It's bigger. It's like, probably 4 or 5 inches diameter around the whole baby that's cushioned. That's even worse. The other thing is, it's the same as the bouncy chair. It's a container. They cannot move their arms and their shoulders. They can't open their legs, their hips.
See,
In
this
that,
is the
better than a swing or a bouncer, but a swing and a bouncer isn't necessary either. It's just not, because they're all containers, and you really, like, I've studied this. You can look it up on the AAP website. It's called container syndrome. They actually have a name for it. So when babies are in these types of containers, even if they're different ones, let's say they're in the Snuggle Me for 15 minutes, and then they're in the bouncer for 15 minutes, and then they're in the swing for 15 minutes. Okay, that's still all containers. Even a car seat is a container.
Yeah.
And we have to put them in there, right? So that all adds up. So anytime they're not in a container that they have to be in, like a car seat, they need to be lying flat.
Yeah.
That
was a big,
and
when I
no
got
reason
my
to have them in a different position.
what was I like the is well, he's just like chilling on me.
Yeah.
I love the prospect
That's
of that.
the best place for them. Absolutely. I mean, think about it. That's where he started his life, right?
Yeah.
Within you, all snuggled up, and that's beautiful. But yes, absolutely, the stroller thing, because they fall asleep in the stroller. You take them for a walk, they fall asleep. The same thing with the Snuggle Me and with the swings. Oh my gosh, I hate the swings, because you put them in there for a reason, right? You need to do something, whatever. And we all know you're not supposed to let them fall asleep in there. Don't let them fall asleep in the car. If they fall asleep in the car, you take them out, put them in their crib. They fall asleep in the swing, take them out, because they're not lying flat in a swing. They're contained. They're not lying flat in a bouncy. They're not lying flat in the Snuggle Me. They don't have range of motion in the Snuggle Me, in the Nest, whatever you want to call those container pillows. And so, but let's be real. They're gonna fall asleep, and you're gonna want to let them fall asleep because
And then
you're
move them.
doing your, when they
And then
sleep, they need to sleep. So you're not going to pick them up out of this and put them into their bassinet, right? So just put them in the bassinet in the first place, or put them on the floor on a pillow, not on a pillow, on a blanket in the first place. And then if they fall asleep there, that's fine. You can just leave them.
yeah, for
The other part, the other section I want to talk about was, again, a little bit more I do in the boot camp, but in the ebook, Bump Boss 101, I talk about services over stuff. And that's kind of what we've been talking about here. And that is, for every lovely package of something that you get from someone for your shower, wouldn't it be great if that person also gave you an hour of, I don't know, cooking or cleaning or,
uninterrupted sleep.
your dog out or grocery shopping, like you need the services. That's what you need. That's what your baby registry should have. And I don't think people realize it enough that support in that way is so much better a gift for a new mom than giving her stuff. Because as we said, you don't need as much stuff as you think you need, but you need more support than you think you need. So, and there is something I did put in the book that is a little factoid that I find fascinating and makes such sense, and that is that mothers with higher levels of support are less likely to develop postpartum depression and anxiety. And that's been researched, and to me it's obvious, but it had to be researched for us to learn about it. And it's so true, because this is what we need. We need someone to take care of all the things that we do. So one of the things I say in the postpartum planning is make a list of everything that you do in your house. Everything. Like cleaning the toilet, buying the toilet paper, making sure there's laundry detergent, everything that you do. And then who's going to do those? There's got to be a name next to each one of those things.
We gotta have
like
a
you said, your
checklist. Someone's
husband works
assigned.
70 hours a week. It can't all go on him, and it doesn't. It shouldn't. It doesn't need to be. This is where you need the support of all the things that you do every day. And the big thing too, Tess, is that we think we need it for a few weeks, but we really need it for a few months. When we were talking about our love languages are the same, acts of service, I just learned this, and I think it's fascinating, because you said in the same sentence almost that your love language is acts of service, and you said you hate to ask for help.
Yes.
And I just read something that said that very thing, that what our love language is the exact thing that we struggle with in that opposite way. So when your love language is acts of service, you struggle with asking for people to do things for you. And that we're on the same page with that. So I recognize that. And so whatever it's important. Like, think about what your love language is. If you don't know about that, it's the 5 love languages. There's a book out there. But and then see what that opposite is. It's so enlightening, and it changes your mindset about things a lot.
It really is.
So at the end of the book, I talk about expectations, just overall generalized, expectations and I think through this whole thing, we talked about really this whole Bump Boss 101 ebook is about mindset shift, right?
Yes.
It's about a mindset shift in every section, about how you're feeding your baby, how you're preparing for your baby, how you're going to take care of your baby, what things you're going to need. It's all a mindset shift. And so that's a big part of becoming a mother. And in the end of the book, I talk about adjusting expectations. So in every way, shape, or form, like, you hear about how hard it's going to be, you hear what it's going to feel like, but when you're experiencing it, you're like, no, this is not what I expected. So you have to be very flexible. You have to give yourself grace, and you have to let yourself, fall down and get back up again, and understand that, you're really the best you are the best mom for your baby. You're his favorite person already, I promise you. And everything that you're doing is already the best for him. So try not to get caught up in that, you know, what what it should look like, what you thought it was going to look like, and what it actually does look like and feel like,
Oh,
because
yeah,
expectations are everything.
I have been trying to.
I mean, for him to have that concept already before the baby even comes is amazing, because those are the two things that you mentioned that your husband said, and those are the big things: the loss of control that you're going to have. You already have a loss of control, right? Because you're not
Yep.
able to do things the way you want because you're so sick. But that's going to get even more so when you have a baby to care for.
Yep.
So there's this complete loss of control. You cannot do things the way you want to do things. And I am so exactly the same person as you, because I remember it so well. Like, if it doesn't get done this way, it's not done because it didn't get done this way. And that's a mindset shift. Like, it's
Yep.
still going to get done. It's just not going to be done the same way that you like to have it done. So that loss of control, and then the fact that you two are communicating about this stuff now is amazing. People do not do this. They just think, we're good and we're going to bring this new person home and we're going to be so happy because we wanted this baby and here we go. But no, you are two different people. You already know that. Maybe if you've been together longer, you know it a little better. Like, I know you've been together a long time.
Yeah.
So if you've only been together a short time, you might not realize, but yes, you're going to parent this baby very differently.
Yeah,
And that's okay.
that's okay. And I'm
The baby
working
has
on
two
that.
parents, and they're getting pieces of the puzzle from both of you. And, you love that baby. That's what they're going to
Yeah.
get.
Oh,
They're
and
getting the love.
I was also.
And, this discussion brings me back to when we talked about having your providers lined up. This is a perfect reason why you also want to get yourself a licensed maternal health counselor now, because someone that you meet with, you're comfortable with, and you like, so that because these issues are going to come up, right? And everything gets magnified after you've had a baby. Not only the loss of control, but the loss of, like, your hormones are so out of control that you have no control over your emotions.
Oh my
So
god.
having that mental health, really a maternal mental health counselor lined up beforehand that you can talk to, get to know now before you have the baby, so that you can then reach out to them when these things come up, and they can just really, like, center you back into place. And gosh, that would have been an amazing thing if I had that,
I'm
someone I could
absolutely
call.
gonna find one.
And in the first few weeks after birth, I mean, they just crash. I mean, all these hormones are just up to here right now, right? And they just
Yep.
crash. They leave your body so fast. And that's that feeling. It's like you are free falling. And it can be scary. And you're all of that while you're getting to know this newborn baby and learning how to care for him and learning what he's all about. Like, oh my gosh.
And then on top.
Well, this was great. I'm so glad we had a chance to talk again this week, and we're gonna do it again next week, right?
Yeah, we are. And
Yeah.
I'm excited to look into I forgot what it is called. The boot camp.
The Bump Boss Boot Camp. Yes, I promise. There's nobody yelling at you. No 5-mile runs at 6 a.m. It's a good kind of
Yeah.
boot camp. It's just getting you ready. That baby's coming soon, right? 2 to 4 weeks.
2 to 5.
We got to get you through this boot camp.
Terrifying.
Yes. We got to get you through it. So we're going to do that this week. And there's so much to it. There's a lot. So you'll want to do a little bit every day.
Okay.
And then we'll talk. And maybe we can talk during the week too. So we don't have to do it all at one, in one shot.
Yeah.
It might be better, because then we can talk about whatever workshop you went through. We can do a little talk about that, and then in the next one. Yeah.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Good.
All
right. Stay well. I'll see you again.
You too.
Bye-bye. Thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe and the notification bell so you don't miss my weekly check-ins with first-time mom, Kes. I'm going to follow her through her 4th trimester when she brings her baby home, and we'll have lots to talk about. See you there.